in our lives. And we're looking at this particularly from the standpoint of betrayal, and because that's what this particular program that we've developed, Beyond Betrayal, is all about. It's how to get beyond betrayal. We find ourselves sometimes through no fault of our own in the midst of betrayal. But, and a lot of people in the aftermath of that, they get sidelined and can't find a healthy way forward. And then, a lot of folks, they have this naive expectation that God should protect them from all harm, all hurt in our lives. He doesn't do that, and as a result, then they're angry and upset with God. Well, one of the things that we want to explore is how that God uses pain and suffering in our lives to equip us. And those types of lessons are not necessarily lessons that we like to learn, but they are important lessons to learn nonetheless. So that will be the focus of this particular broadcast. We're going to take a deeper look at that in just a moment. Karen, hello. I'm glad that you're here with me today.
Yes. Hi. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I'm doing fine, thank you. So, and how about you?
Doing all right.
Yeah. And now that we've gotten those pleasantries out of the way, let me ask you this question. And you may not have given this much thought, but hopefully that it's something that will be at the top of mind. In what ways has the betrayal that you've gone through better equipped you to help others?
Yeah. Well, I think that when you face something and you have experienced the pain of it, that not only provides you with empathy, but also with insight.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know what works for you and what didn't work for you, and you know what made you feel better and what didn't. And so you can better offer that to other people because you're speaking from your own experiences.
Yeah. I love those two words that you used, empathy and insight.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously other people who are going through betrayal need somebody who can truly empathize with them.
Yeah.
But they also need somebody who has walked the journey but is a little bit ahead of them in the path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that way they can offer insights along those lines. I oftentimes tell the clients that I work with, and nobody likes to hear this, but I oftentimes tell them that what has happened to you is really a gift. Mm-hmm. And you may not see it right now because it's one of those types of gifts that you'd like to give back. It's like the gifts my mom would give us for Christmas. My mom, her heart was always in the right place, but she would oftentimes give us these gifts that when you open them up, you have to look like you're delighted, but instead you're puzzled. And,
I know. As a teenager, I got a crocheted little mouse with a notepad on its stomach and a pencil on its tail.
I'm sure that was given in love, but
Yeah,
nevertheless, it's kind of like, so that once my mom gave me this handmade, like wooden and metal cross tied up with leather. You know,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, my mom and dad, they never were involved in church. And when I, became a Christian and eventually became a pastor, I think that a lot of it, they just kind of were left scratching their head and trying to figure it out. But
Your
she said,
description of that doesn't do it justice, because you think, oh, wooden and metal cross tied up with leather, that could be really cool.
yeah,
But no, it was huge.
yeah, it was huge and it was hideous. and and she said, and I remember her saying that she can, you can wear that with your frock when you, when you preach. What the frock? I mean, I never wore a frock when I preached, and I still don't to this day. I don't even know where that cross went. I'm sure it's in a drawer somewhere because I never throw away anything. But but uh,
Yeah.
but that's the way that suffering is. It's a gift that very few of us are delighted to receive.
Hmm.
Actually, that's a passage of scripture in the book of James, chapter 1. I can't remember the exact address, but I think it might be 3.
Yeah.
It says, maybe 5. It says, count it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. For the testing of your faith produces patience, and let patience have its finish its work in you.
This is perseverance.
Okay,
I
go
looked it
ahead.
up,
Go
and
ahead.
it says that's 3, and it says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
Yeah, well, that's really good. But he also says rejoice. He says, count it all joy.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
you would be, there would be something psychologically off if you enjoyed suffering, you
Hmm.
know. But
Hmm.
but when you regard it as joy, and you say, and he's not telling us that the experience is joyful, but
Right.
but the fruit that it can bear in our lives.
Hmm.
And you mentioned 2 of those. We didn't rehearse this, as is evident, but but uh, but but you mentioned 2 of those that are extreme. That's extremely insightful. Is that you can develop empathy for
Hmm.
other people, and you can also have insight.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people only get half that package.
Yeah.
You know, they get the empathetic thing,
Hmm.
but the insight. Now, here's an interesting question: is that okay? If you have kind of a natural disposition towards being a compassionate person, obviously you're going to develop empathy for those who are hurting, who are suffering the same way or similar way that you've gone through. But how do you develop insight? What do you think?
I think you have to be able to uh, have hindsight gives you insight. You have to be able to look back at the
Yeah.
pain that you've gone through
Mm-hmm.
and look for those things that um, that that the good parts that came out of it. So maybe it's hindsight and gratitude, or hindsight and
Yeah.
introspection, or something like that. But
Yeah.
you have to be able to you know. So when you were talking about, you don't have joy with the pain as you're going
Mm-hmm.
through the pain, but you have joy when you're thinking about what the pain is going to produce. If you
Mm-hmm.
think about that as like a crop,
Yeah.
is that you can plant the crops and be all excited, like, ooh, we're going to have zucchini and we'll make zucchini bread,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Corn.
you know, while the crop is growing, it's nothing. There's
Yeah.
no harvesting anything from it while it's still growing.
Mm-hmm.
But so, and sometimes, you have things go sideways on it, like
Yeah.
too hot, or you didn't give
Yeah.
water enough, or you water
Yeah.
it too
Yeah.
much, or whatever. You can gain insight and grow from that experience and say, okay, next time I'm going to water it less, or, whatever. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of like if you look at your trials that way too and say, all right, um, what didn't work?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
use it as a scientific experience, basically,
Yeah.
like experiment,
Yeah.
and see if another way of going about it can produce a better result.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, now I am not a master gardener, and particularly when it comes to fruits and vegetables.
Me
Yeah. But, but I have gotten a lot better with growing roses. And anybody who knows me is that I'm kind of obsessed with taking photos of roses and manipulating those images and trying to kind of convey the beauty that I've seen, captured
hmm
that, and share that with others.
Yeah.
But whatever insights that I've gained about growing roses, or for that matter, taking photos and learning how to compose and edit them well, is that I've gained those insights from others.
hmm
And of course, experimentation, like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But, and so I think that that's really a key, is that that instead of thinking that you can figure this out all for yourself,
Right.
that it's important to learn from others.
hmm
Hey, did we play
Yeah.
the video yet?
Nope.
Well, let's play the video, and then we can talk more about that. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's do it.
What did God do as a result of that pain and suffering in his life? It equipped him to help others. And I can look back in my own life again and realize that things that I've been through that have caused me the most difficulty, the most painful, and the times of greatest suffering have equipped me as a pastor to help other people who are going through the same thing. People said to me, for example, well, I used to couldn't watch you, used to couldn't listen to you because I thought, what do you know about hurt and pain and suffering and loneliness and all the rest? You don't know anything about that. Now I can listen to you. Now I can watch and know that you're speaking out of experience, not having read a book. There's something about experiencing difficulty, hardship, and pain that equips us to do what? To help others, and also we discover the awesome power of God to comfort us.
hmm
Yeah, that's good. So well, I'm glad that we made some time for the video. You know,
I think the thing that I kind of forgot about, which is actually a really important part of it all, is for allowing God to comfort us.
mm-hmm,
And you talk about that a lot in with the Beyond Betrayal program, is that you have to
mm-hmm,
grieve,
yeah.
and um, it's that those who mourn will be comforted.
Mm-hmm. There's a
Um,
passage of scripture I'm looking up. Keep talking because I want to share it with you. No, really.
yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was a point that I had overlooked
Mm-hmm.
before that's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, Dr. Stanley there, he's talking about the Apostle Paul. That's the
hmm
context. Now, you wouldn't have gotten it from that clip because we edited the clip down to just kind of like the important points. But he's talking about the Apostle Paul, who anybody who knows the Bible know that he went through a lot. He,
yeah.
he went through a lot of suffering, pain and
hmm
suffering and betrayal in his life. But I read this particular passage almost at every graveside service that I officiate, and I've officiated a lot over the course of my ministry,
hmm
and it was amazing passage that jumped out at me years ago, and it says this: It says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion." A lot of people don't see God as that, particularly when we've gone through suffering. We don't think that He's very compassionate if He lets this type of stuff happen to us. But which is crazy, because what God does is He really lets life happen to us. And that, but He says that not only is pain and suffering a part of life, but there's another dimension of life yet you may not be considering that pain and suffering will disclose to you, and that's me, and that's my comfort that I can provide for you. And He says that the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, He's talking about true comfort there, healthy comfort. He says, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. Now, when you read the Bible too quickly, you miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But here's one of the things that passage is teaching, is that passage is teaching both direct comfort from God in some occasions, and it's also teaching mediated comfort from God, because He's the God of all comfort. He's the God of direct comfort, and He's the God of mediated comfort. Yeah. So when, and I've been in plenty of positions like that, and when somebody has lost a loved one and they are just totally bereft of that loss, and they can't find any comfort from God, is that oftentimes what happens is that somebody can come alongside of them if they allow others in, and that they can be a source of great comfort to them, which is mediated comfort. God is bringing that comfort into that person's life. And that's really what we've done with this Beyond Betrayal project, is that you've gone through a significant betrayal and loss. I've gone through a significant betrayal and loss. And having traveled that journey, that we have discovered both the direct and mediated comfort. And so it has not only enlarged our capacity for empathy, hopefully it has, that I know it has for you, but sometimes I can be pretty cold-hearted. But also,
Good. I keep learning that lesson then.
Yeah, exactly. That's normally what God does. He says, "Okay, you haven't learned the lesson. It's time for you to go back to school. You're going to repeat that grade." But we're able, when we pick up those lessons, and that's really where I've been in my life, is I've really, some very wise people have spoken into my life about how to negotiate these times of struggle. And then I pass that along to others. There's another couple observations I want to make before we wrap this up, but tell me any thoughts that you have about that particular topic.
Well, one thing that it made me think about is Celebrate Recovery. We used to, I used to go to Celebrate Recovery back when you had it at the church, and one of the things that we did was we had people, like one person per week would share their testimony. And to me, that was the most powerful part of the whole process, is hearing other people speak about their journey. And it really inspired me later on to make that a priority in sharing my testimony, and not just like your whole, how did you become a Christian, but like the things that you go through and how God worked.
How did you make it through that? Yeah.
Right, exactly. So.
One of the great values of that is that you don't feel so alone. Is that you all of a sudden, when you're hearing other people's story, and even though their story is their story, it's not your story.
Yeah.
Is that you can begin to hear how God showed up and showed off
Yeah.
in those circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is just one other thing, because we're really out of time and I want to wrap this up. That I was coaching a client just the other day, and she was talking about, that this experience this is not what she wrote into her script for her life,
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I understand, and and I'm not trivializing that pain and suffering, but
Right.
I said that if you had not gone through that, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
Mm-hmm.
And this in this process that you're in, you're beginning to gain some new insights into your life
Mm-hmm.
on making wiser choices.
Yeah.
And so those lessons are painful to learn,
Right.
but it's the painful lessons that you don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be able to get insight from them, because somebody is on the same path behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to need somebody like you to give them hope that life can be good again beyond betrayal.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Nope, not right now.
Okay. well, that's good enough, So I'm going to go ahead and then wrap up. But as always, thank you for spending some time with me and talking about these matters. Folks, I really appreciate Karen and her wisdom and insight. And for me, I've never really had packaged that some information as succinctly as she put it today, is that pain and suffering gives us the ability to gain empathy and insights. I would like to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I really do, is that I believe that you're naturally empathetic. But in order to bring true value to another, is that you need insights. You need insights on how to help them to get past their pain in healthy ways. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people stay stuck in bitterness, resentment, anger, and it ends up in constricting their lives rather than opening up to be more loving and generous and comfortable even in their own skin. So we have this program, but we also have a Facebook group at beyondbetrayal.org on Facebook. And our goal is to continue to bring more and more content into that group. And we're working on strategies to do that. So I would encourage you to check that out for yourself. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. So God bless you guys, and may you be someone who finds the way to get beyond betrayal so that you can show others the path forward.